All right, welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating, and it might even change the way you think about your body.
Uh-oh. Setting the bar high right from the start.
Well, I think this topic warrants it,
Yeah,
We're talking about the skin-gut axis. Have you heard about this?
definitely. Yeah, it's been getting a lot of buzz lately, and for good reason. It's pretty groundbreaking stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so the skin-gut axis, in the simplest terms, it's basically this two-way communication highway between your gut and your skin.
Yeah, think of it like a constant back and forth, messages being sent and received all the time.
And this is kind of mind-blowing because for a long time, modern medicine, they treated the gut and the skin like they were totally separate entities, right?
Exactly. It was like, here's your gut, or there's your skin. They don't really talk to each other. But
But now we know better.
yeah, now we're realizing that they're actually deeply interconnected, constantly influencing each other.
Which is pretty wild when you think about it. Like, ever notice how you get a breakout after eating certain foods?
Oh yeah, the classic pizza face phenomenon.
Or how about your skin freaking out when you're stressed?
Stress rash, yep. Happens to the best of us.
Turns out, it's not just some random coincidence. It's the skin-gut axis hard at work. And that's what we're going to unpack today in this deep dive. We're going to explore the science behind it and the practical stuff you can actually do about it.
Right, because understanding this connection could be a game changer, not just for your skin, but for your overall health too.
So let's jump right in. First things first. What exactly is the skin-gut axis, and how does this whole thing work?
Well, imagine this. Your body is like a bustling city.
I love a good analogy.
Your gut, that's like the central processing plant, handling all the incoming stuff, the food, the drinks.
Yeah, breaking it all down, sorting it out.
Right, and then you have your skin. That's like the city's protective wall, keeping everything safe and sound.
Keeping the good stuff in, the bad stuff out.
Exactly. But here's the thing. These two, the processing plant and the wall, they're not working in isolation.
They're constantly communicating with each other.
Yeah, they're sending messages back and forth, sharing information, keeping everything in balance.
Through all these different channels we're going to talk about.
Right. And so this communication, that's essentially the skin-gut axis in action.
So let's zoom in a bit on the gut. I always like to think of our gut as this inner garden.
Oh, I like that. A garden full of life.
Exactly. And it's teeming with all these microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, even viruses, all hanging out together in this ecosystem we call the gut microbiome.
And just like a garden, you want a good variety, lots of different types of those good bacteria flourishing.
The more diversity, the better, right?
Absolutely. Because when things get out of whack, when you have too much of the bad bacteria or not enough of the good guys,
that's when things can go wrong.
it can throw the whole system off balance.
And it's not just our digestion that takes a hit, right?
Nope. It can affect our entire body, including our skin.
Yeah. And I actually have a really vivid memory of this happening to me a few years ago. I had to take a course of antibiotics for a sinus infection. And you know how antibiotics can kind of nuke everything in your gut?
Yeah, unfortunately, they can't always distinguish between the good and the bad bacteria.
Right. So after finishing the antibiotics, I was having all these digestive issues, the usual suspects. But then I also developed this weird, icky rash all over my chest and arms. And I'd never had anything like that before.
So you're thinking that the antibiotics disrupted your gut microbiome, and that somehow led to the rash.
That's exactly what I think happened. And it really opened my eyes to how interconnected everything is. Like, something happening in your gut can literally manifest on your skin.
It definitely highlights the powerful link between the two. And it makes sense when you think about it. Antibiotics, while necessary sometimes, they can really wipe out a lot of the beneficial bacteria in your gut.
Creating this kind of imbalance.
Exactly. And that imbalance can trigger inflammation throughout the body, which then shows up on your skin as a rash or acne or any number of other issues.
And that's just one example of how these two seemingly separate systems are actually constantly talking to each other.
Right. It's like this intricate communication network that we're only beginning to fully understand.
Okay, so we've talked about the gut as this internal garden, but what about the skin? Is it just a passive barrier?
Not at all. The skin is a fascinating organ in its own right. It's our largest organ,
I never thought about it like that, but it makes sense.
And just like the gut, it has its own bustling community of microorganisms.
It's like a whole other ecosystem living on us.
Exactly. This community is called the skin microbiome, and it plays a huge role in keeping our skin healthy.
So it's more than just a protective layer. It's got its own defenses and its own way of communicating with the rest of the body.
Absolutely. Think of it like this. Your skin is kind of like the body's coastline.
Okay, I like where this is going.
And just like a healthy coastline teems with all sorts of marine life that help keep the ecosystem in check, your skin has this diverse array of beneficial bacteria.
Working hard to keep things in balance.
Exactly. They protect against harmful pathogens, they help maintain the skin's barrier function, they even help regulate pH and moisture levels. It's an incredible system.
So we've got these two microbial communities, one inside and one outside. How do they actually communicate with each other? Do they like send smoke signals or something?
Well, not quite smoke signals, but it is a pretty complex communication system. We can think of it as happening through three main pathways. First up, we have what we can call the immune system highway.
Okay, that sounds serious.
It is.
Yeah.
Because your gut, it houses the majority of your immune system. Around 70% of your immune cells are actually hanging out in your gut.
70%? Wow.
Yep. It's a major hub for immune activity. And when there's an imbalance in the gut microbiome, like we talked about earlier.
Too much of the bad bacteria, not enough of the good.
Right. That can activate those immune cells and trigger inflammation throughout the body.
And that inflammation can travel all the way to the skin.
Exactly. So it's like your gut is sending out these alarm signals through the immune system saying, hey, things are out of whack down here.
And the skin being like, whoa, okay, got to respond to that.
Right. So a happy, balanced gut means a calmer immune response overall, which is good news for your skin.
Makes sense. So what's the second communication pathway?
The second route is what we can call the bloodstream express. Basically, all the stuff that's produced in your gut.
All those nutrients and other things.
Right, like the good stuff, the essential nutrients that nourish us, but also potentially harmful toxins and byproducts from those bacteria we talked about.
Not so good stuff.
Right, all of that gets transported throughout your body via your bloodstream.
So it's like a delivery system.
Exactly, and of course that includes your skin. So if your gut is functioning well and absorbing nutrients efficiently, that's good news for your skin.
It gets all those good nutrients delivered right to its doorstep.
Right. But on the flip side, if your gut's out of balance,
if it's not breaking things down properly,
then those inflammatory substances or even undigested food particles, they can also make their way to the skin through the bloodstream.
causing all sorts of problems.
Yeah, like inflammation, irritation, breakouts. It can really affect your complexion.
So what we eat and how our gut processes it, that has a direct impact on our skin.
Absolutely. It's all connected.
This is blowing my mind. Okay, so what about that third communication pathway?
Right. The third one is all about the mind-body connection. We call this one the gut-brain axis.
Okay, I've heard about this. It's how our gut and brain talk to each other, right?
Yep. It's this two-way communication network between your digestive system and your central nervous system.
And this ties into the skin as well.
It sure does. Because stress, it can wreak havoc on your gut. Ever get an upset stomach when you're feeling anxious or nervous?
Oh, all the time.
That's the gut-brain axis in action. Your brain is sending stress signals to your gut, which can lead to all sorts of digestive discomfort.
But it doesn't stop there, does it?
Nope. That same stress response that messes with your gut can also trigger skin issues.
Like those stress breakouts we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stress hormones and inflammatory molecules, they can wreak havoc on your skin, leading to everything from flushing and redness to hives, and even exacerbating existing conditions like acne and eczema.
Wow, so basically a stressed out gut equals a stressed out skin.
Pretty much. Taking care of your mental health and managing stress, it's not just good for your brain, it's good for your gut and your skin too.
It all comes back to that interconnectedness again. Okay, this is all super fascinating, but I want to get real here. Can you give us some real-life examples of how this skin-gut connection actually plays out?
Definitely. So let's start with something everyone can relate to. Pizza face. You know that thing where you eat a bunch of greasy food and then bam, you break out?
I feel like this is a universal experience.
It probably is. And for a long time, people dismissed it as just an old wives' tale.
Like, oh, pizza doesn't actually cause acne.
But turns out there's actually some science behind it. It all comes back to the gut microbiome.
So what's happening in our gut when we eat a whole pizza?
Well, certain foods, like those high in refined sugars or saturated fats, they can really disrupt the balance of bacteria in your gut.
They basically feed the bad bacteria.
Right. And this can lead to inflammation, which, as we know, can travel to the skin and trigger those lovely breakouts.
So it's not just about the pizza itself, it's about how our gut reacts to it.
Exactly. And this isn't just speculation anymore. There's been a lot of research on this connection, and it's pretty clear that certain foods, like dairy and high glycemic index foods, they can definitely exacerbate acne.
That's good to know. What about other skin conditions? Can you give us some examples of how the skin-gut connection might play a role there.
Sure. So let's take eczema, for example. It's a chronic inflammatory skin condition that affects a lot of people.
It can be really debilitating.
It really can be. And it turns out people with eczema, they often have different gut bacteria compositions compared to people without eczema.
So their gut microbiome is out of whack.
In a way, yes, there might be certain imbalances or a lack of diversity in the gut bacteria that contributes to a more inflammatory environment in the body.
And that inflammation then shows up on the skin as eczema.
Right. And then there's rosacea, another common skin condition characterized by facial redness and flushing.
Oh yeah, I know people who struggle with that.
And interestingly, studies have shown that people with rosacea often have a higher prevalence of digestive issues, like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO.
So there's a potential link between rosacea and gut problems.
It seems that way. It's not fully understood yet, but it definitely suggests that what's going on in your gut could be playing a role in rosacea.
So we're seeing this pattern emerge. Skin problems that seem like they're just on the surface might actually have roots deep within the gut.
Exactly. It's a whole new way of looking at skin health, and it really highlights the importance of addressing the gut as part of the solution.
It makes you wonder how many people are just treating the symptoms on their skin when they should really be focusing on their gut health.
That's a really good point. I've actually seen this firsthand in my practice. I had a patient who had been struggling with really severe acne for years.
And they had tried everything.
Oh, they had tried everything you could imagine. Topical creams, antibiotics, all sorts of things. But nothing seemed to work.
So what'd you do?
Well, we started looking at their gut health. We did some testing and found that their gut microbiome was really out of balance.
And you suspected that this was contributing to their acne.
I did. So we worked together to make some dietary changes. They cut out processed foods, reduced their sugar intake, and started eating a lot more fruits, vegetables, and fermented foods.
So basically they were feeding their good gut bacteria.
Exactly. And the results were amazing. Their skin started to clear up dramatically, and they also noticed improvements in their digestion and energy levels.
That's incredible. It's a real testament to the power of the skin-gut connection.
It really is. And it just goes to show that sometimes addressing the root cause of the problem, which in this case was the gut, can lead to much more lasting results.
Okay, so now that we've really laid out the science and the connection here, let's talk about the practical stuff. What can our listeners actually do to support their skin-gut axis?
That's the most important part. So we can think of it like this. We want to nurture our internal garden and be mindful of what we expose our external coastline to.
I love those visuals. So how do we nurture our internal garden? What are some practical steps we can take?
Well, first and foremost, we got to feed our gut garden with the right stuff.
That makes sense. What does that look like?
Lots of colorful fruits and vegetables. They're packed with prebiotics, which are basically food for the good bacteria in your gut.
So eating the rainbow is good for our gut.
It really is. And then we want to add in some fermented foods, things like yogurt with live cultures, kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir. These foods are full of probiotics, which are the actual good bacteria themselves.
So we're directly introducing good bacteria into our gut.
Yep. And don't forget about fiber. Fiber is super important for gut health because it feeds those good bacteria.
So lots of whole grains, legumes, fruits, and veggies.
Exactly. And of course, hydration. Staying hydrated is crucial for keeping everything flowing smoothly in the gut.
Water, water, water.
Can't stress that enough. So to recap, feeding your gut garden involves a balanced and diverse diet, rich in colorful fruits and veggies, fermented foods, fiber, and plenty of water.
Got it. So that's how we nurture the good guys. What about the stuff we want to avoid, the gut disruptors?
Right. So first up on the hit list is processed foods. Those are often loaded with refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and artificial ingredients, which can really throw your gut microbiome out of whack.
They basically feed the bad bacteria and create inflammation.
Exactly. And then we have refined sugars, like white sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Those are gut disruptors as well. They feed the bad bacteria and can contribute to a whole host of problems.
So cutting back on sugary drinks and processed snacks is a good idea.
A very good idea. And then we have antibiotics. Now, antibiotics are obviously very important when we need them, but they can also be a major gut disruptor because they wipe out both good and bad bacteria.
So they can create that imbalance we were talking about.
Right. So it's really important to only take antibiotics when absolutely necessary and as prescribed by your doctor.
And to talk to your doctor about ways to replenish your gut bacteria after taking antibiotics.
Exactly. And then there's stress. We talked about the gut-brain axis earlier and how stress can negatively impact your gut.
So finding ways to manage stress is key for gut health.
It's essential, whether it's through meditation, yoga, deep breathing exercises, spending time in nature, or whatever works for you. Find ways to de-stress and calm your nervous system.
And of course, good quality sleep is crucial for overall health, including gut health.
Absolutely. When you're sleep deprived, your body produces more stress hormones, which can negatively impact your gut microbiome.
So prioritizing sleep is essential.
It's non-negotiable. So to sum up, being mindful of gut disruptors means limiting processed foods, refined critters, being cautious with antibiotics, managing stress, and getting enough sleep.
So it's basically all the stuff we know we should be doing for our overall health.
It really is. But now we have a deeper understanding of why these habits are so important, especially for our skin.
Okay, so we've covered how to take care of our gut. What about the skin itself? What are some practical things we can do to support our skin microbiome and that external coastline?
Right. So when it comes to skincare, I'm a big advocate for the gentle is best approach.
Gentle skincare.
Exactly. Because a lot of those harsh cleansers and scrubs, they can actually strip away the skin's natural protective barrier.
Which leaves it vulnerable to irritation and inflammation.
Right. And they can also disrupt the delicate balance of bacteria in the skin microbiome, which can lead to problems.
So what kind of cleanser should we be using?
Look for gentle, pH-balanced cleansers that are free of harsh chemicals and fragrances.
The kind that don't leave your skin feeling tight and dry after you wash it.
Exactly. And don't over-exfoliate. A little bit of exfoliation is good to slough off dead skin cells, but too much can be damaging.
So be gentle with your skin.
Always. And then there are probiotics for the skin. There's a lot of research emerging about the potential benefits of using skincare products that contain probiotics or prebiotics.
So like lotions and serums with good bacteria in them.
Yep. It's still a relatively new area of research, but there's some promising evidence that these products can help balance the skin microbiome and improve skin health.
That's cool. So it's kind of like feeding your skin microbiome from the outside.
In a way, yes. But it's important to do your research and choose products from reputable brands that are backed by science.
And of course, moisturizing is key.
Absolutely. Keeping your skin hydrated is essential for maintaining a healthy skin barrier.
Which helps protect against those external irritants.
Exactly. So to recap, gentle skincare involves using gentle cleansers, avoiding harsh scrubs, considering probiotic skincare, and moisturizing regularly.
Got it. So it's all about being kind to our skin, both from the inside and the outside.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, before we wrap things up, I'd love to hear some of those mind-blowing facts that really drive this whole skin-gut connection home.
I've got some good ones for you. So first up, did you know that your gut and your skin actually develop from the same embryonic tissue during fetal development?
Whoa, really?
Yep. It's called the ectoderm. So in a way, they're like siblings from the very beginning.
That's wild. It's like this connection is ingrained in us from the start.
Exactly. It's not just some random association. It's a deep biological connection.
Okay, what else you got?
All right, so let's talk about surface area. If you were to unfold the lining of your gut, it would cover an area roughly the size of a tennis court.
A tennis court. That's huge.
It is. And your skin, as we mentioned before, is your largest organ, covering about 2 square meters. Both of these organs represent massive surfaces that are constantly interacting with the outside world.
They're like our front lines.
Exactly. And all that interaction, it has a huge impact on our overall health, both inside and out.
So taking care of those surfaces, both our gut lining and our skin, is essential.
It's crucial. Okay, here's another one. Some of the same species of bacteria have been found in both the gut microbiome and the skin microbiome.
Wait, so the same bacteria are living in our gut and on our skin?
Yep. Although they might be different strains that have adapted to their specific environments, but it's still pretty remarkable.
That's fascinating. It makes you wonder if they're, like, chatting with each other.
Right, like, hey, how's it going down there? Not too bad. How's it up on the surface?
Yeah. Okay, what's your last mind-blowing fact?
All right, so this one's really cool. Studies have shown that taking certain probiotics orally can actually improve skin conditions.
So the probiotics never even touch your skin, but they still have a positive effect.
Exactly. It's all thanks to that communication highway we were talking about earlier. The probiotics improve gut health, which then has a ripple effect on skin health.
That's amazing. It really highlights the power of that internal connection.
It really does.
Okay, I think our listeners are getting the picture here. The skin-gut axis is real, it's powerful, and it's something we should all be paying attention to.
Absolutely. It's a paradigm shift in how we think about skin health.
So what's the main takeaway here for everyone listening?
The main takeaway is this. When you're dealing with skin issues, don't just focus on the symptoms on the surface.
Look deeper. Yeah.
Exactly. Consider what might be happening in your gut, because that persistent rash or stubborn acne, it might be a sign that your gut needs some love.
And vice versa, if you're having digestive issues, it can be impacting your skin.
Right, so it's all about taking a more holistic approach to health, recognizing that our gut and skin are deeply interconnected and constantly influencing each other.
So if you're struggling with skin issues, or even if you just want to improve your overall health, start by taking care of your gut.
Feed it well, avoid the gut disruptors, manage your stress, and prioritize sleep. Your skin will thank you.
And be kind to your skin. Use gentle products, moisturize regularly, and consider incorporating probiotic skincare into your routine.
It's all about creating a healthy environment both inside and out.
Great advice. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
My pleasure. It's been a fascinating conversation.
And for everyone listening, I hope you found this deep dive informative and empowering.
We encourage you to start thinking about your skin and gut health in a new light and to experiment with some of the things we discussed today.
Maybe start paying attention to how certain foods affect your skin, or try incorporating some fermented foods into your diet. Every little step you take towards improving your gut health can have a positive impact on your skin.
And remember, this is just the beginning of the exploration. There's still so much we're learning about the skin-gut axis.
So stay curious, keep learning, and keep taking care of your amazing body. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.